I'm also a psychic, in case you may not know, and that means I'm influenced by people. And your decision to come affected my work. So the meeting was slightly different because you were here, so I had to start again. So I started about 6 times. So at 1 o'clock today I said, right, enough is enough. I know the people coming now. And it just wrote itself, more or less, which is a good sign. I'm what is called a linkaholic. My site, it's a very rare disease. That's my 5G site, and we put all sites in the world on it. And there's no known cure. We've got about 7,500 links at the moment, many from academic sources, which is most comforting, because people can say all sorts of things, but unless the scientists have had a look, it doesn't have such credence. So I've written a wonderful piece, which is called Brian's Top 10 Important Factors Concerning 5G. Are you ready? Of course you are. Imagine a group of scientists with clipboards watching the behavior of laboratory rats. They administer electric shocks or poisons and observe the effects. If rats die in the process, that is immaterial. To the powers that be, we are not seen as humans. We are seen as goyim, as dispensable slaves, as useless eaters. And we really need to get over this. They wouldn't do that, would they? Number 1. John Donne wrote his famous words, "No man is an island." And further down the poem says, "Never send to know for whom the bell tolls, it tolls for thee." The silent bells do indeed toll for us as human beings. The way to respond is by strength of character, including our higher mind and access to accurate information, so that we don't go into this venture like an ignorant street fighter, but observing from a helicopter. We need to have an overview and be streetwise at the same time, or as someone said a long time ago, innocent as doves and wise as serpents. Number 9. If you want the shortest ever political explanation of why the world is as it is today, it consists of 5 words. All roads lead to Israel. The only country and we won't use 5G, by the way, the only country created out of another one, Palestine, by a political body as a control center for Zionism. Zionists control America. Try getting elected to Congress without expressing loyalty to Israel. And think of the numerous hospitality visits extended to members of parliament by Israel, or to soften them up. How does this relate to 5G? The aim of the globalist agenda 21, Agenda 30, is a one world government, and therefore anything which increases control over the individual is approved. Number 8. When we speak to local authorities, members of parliament, and even those in the industry, we speak to programmed people, prisoners of ignorance. They are brainwashed people from whom the truth has been withheld and whose salaries depend on not asking questions. Governments, unfortunately, have accepted their 30 pieces of silver in the form of licenses, so are unlikely to listen. There is none so deaf as those who have been paid off. 7. 10 to 1, top 10. Number 7. The campaign to dumb down the population has been ongoing for some years. The methods include fluoridization, not in this country, dumb down central TV, otherwise known as the BBC, it's my favourite name for them, junk food, GMO vaccines, you know the rest. As if this were not enough, we have the Marxist-inspired political correctness, which is neither political nor correct. It was created in Frankfurt in 1923 to destroy Western society from within. And in this case, it's been phenomenally successful. Individuals are reduced to gibbering wrecks if they even think of expressing a point of view that might offend someone, when in reality, the best service we can offer each other is honest feedback. The actual damage we've suffered. 6. The plans for marginalising the human being and getting rid of excess population has been going on for decades. Consider the mysterious AC Christian and the Georgia Guidestones. Was it not overkill to make the same statement, in stone as you know, in 8 languages, that the population should be reduced to 500 million? No, because it was meant for everybody on the planet. English, Spanish, Swahili, Hindi, Hebrew, Arabic, Chinese, and Russian. People don't think of that. They think of the English, reduced population. The anonymous group had been planning that for 20 years prior to 1979. So the Venus flytrap is working. Number 5. As for people just arrived on the scene, playing catch-up is going to be a labour indeed.
It's for you.
That's all right. In a car accident, you forget things at the time. So we'll call that a little car accident. So I'll say it again. As for people just arrived on the scene, playing catch-up is going to be a labour indeed. It took me at least 2 years to understand 9/11, Sandy Hook, etc. But now, people are catching on. And in the next false flag event, you can be sure the first YouTube will be available within 48 hours. You could do worse than get hold of books by David Icke, who for the past 25 years has been warning us of what is about to happen, that his prophecies have come to pass with unfailing regularity. And he said that when he started talking, you could get the number of people in the phone box, and now he speaks to thousands. David reminds us that what you don't understand will control you. Ouch. If we want to be effective red pill people, without tricks, we need to understand both sides. That's what I try to do in my website, and publish views from both sides, and maybe I'll be rubbed out later than if I...
What is your website?
5gexposed.com.
Thank you.
That's all right. Why are we doing what we're doing? And why are the other side doing what they're doing? So we have to understand this to get the psychology, to see the backstory, to understand the so-called news that's delivered each day. Here are some of the general rules that this is my last piece of paper. Here are some general rules that apply to all types of activity and campaigning. How do we get involved? The nice thing is that we don't have to be good at everything. All skills are required. The most important thing is to get to know who is doing what. That's why meetings like this are so important. It's not a waste of it. Every time you make a contact, it's like making a spider's web. Wonderful thing. Avoid getting into a private mental battle, you against the world, because you will come out the worst. Associate with others. The right thing to do, that which suits you, will not seem like work, more like breathing. In other words, if it's work to you, don't do it. Find something else to do. Because you know, Tesla and free electricity, if we're in the right place, we get replenished. When I'm working in the garden for someone who's really grateful, I do 8 hours work and think nothing of it. And they say, where do you get the energy from? And I say, nature, and they look at me in a funny way. Well, that's their problem. 3, when we approach people, it's a good idea not to be too aggressive. The average Joe on the street has enough to cope with, what with his job that he doesn't enjoy anymore, his on-off relationship with his girlfriend, the stresses of living, the pressures on the purse. This topic should not be presented as just another bit of mad news. It needs a rebrand, and I'd love to discuss how we put this across, you know? I suggest we make ourselves the sort of people that others can ask questions of. In other words, approachable people, not ones perceived as nutters. Unless you want to lose all your friends, better to experiment talking about 5G to people you don't know. The number of people I said I lost all my friends, I say, well, don't talk to them then. You know? As a balancer, I suggest finding a hobby or pastime that's exactly the opposite of any serious campaigning activity. I've told you I do landscape gardening, but I also have kept a Samuel Pepys type diary for nearly 3 years now. Another 20,000 words to go, and I shall have equalled the word count of the novel War and Peace. But more importantly, though, it enables me to live not just for myself, but for others. And when I click publish, I share my life and thoughts. This is a great mental stabilizer. And since starting the diary, I haven't had one single down day. It's quite amazing. So if you live for yourself, you die for yourself. You live by the sword, die by the sword. You know the rest. Before I mention the first one, I shall publish this talk on my Branson Old site with links, because you know I'm a linkaholic, and minutes of the proceedings this evening in the diary. So I'll write everything. Number one, to Rosa Parks, it was just another bus journey, another day at work. She was asked to move from where she was sitting, and she simply said no. This was hardly the Gettysburg Address, but little did she know that her action of defiance would be the tipping point. Yes? With me? Yes. Good. Any of us could be the tipping point. We just don't know. So if you feel you are too small to make a difference, try sharing a bedroom with a mosquito.